This week's 1044 is brought to you by Chevron Delos 600 ADF Ultra Low Ash Diesel Engine Oil. It's time to kick some ash.
What are the biggest pain points for fleet managers, and how have they changed since 2021?
Hey everybody, and welcome to the 1044, a weekly webisode from the editors here at CCJ. I'm Jason Cannon, and my co-host on the other side is Matt Cole. Fleet managers, whether in safety, operations, and various other roles, have a wide range of responsibilities to keep their fleets operating at the highest possible level. With those responsibilities also come challenges from a variety of factors.
Knowing what those challenges are is a good starting point in figuring out how to address them. We spoke with Wendy Bleasick-Fleming and Rick Malco with JJ Keller about the results of their recent State of Fleet Management survey, which was conducted for the second year in a row. The survey asked fleet managers about the most challenging aspects of their jobs, and coupled with data from the first survey, JJ Keller was able to analyze differences from 2021 to 2022.
The survey originated with the J.J. Keller Center for Market Insight. So that part of the organization began in 2019. And really the purpose of that was to take the information that we have gathered as an organization. We've gathered a lot of facts and findings over the years and be able to share some of that with others in the industry and the public. So that was really what got our study going. And this is the second year that we've done the study. So the nice thing now is we're able to look at two sets of data and do a little bit of comparison and see how some things have shifted. So it's definitely an important audience for us. And we really wanted to dig in deeper and understand the challenges. The largest category of respondents that we had was safety and compliance roles. So that was the biggest grouping of the respondents for the study. From there, it was kind of a mixed bag of respondents. So we had another group that was just other, and that could have been maybe human resource leaders, other people who were in similar areas of the organization, and then administrative operations, even some fleet managers that were directly doing that type of job.
The survey was broken down into 7 different areas, ranging from driver knowledge and training to organizational safety and maintenance and more.
We kind of broke the study down into 7 different areas. One was driver knowledge and skill. The next one, certainly seems related. It was driver training, then FMCSA compliance, overall safety of an organization, new vehicle technology. A lot of folks are having conversations about that currently, vehicle maintenance, and then finally, managing companies' expenses. And just to kind of give you a high overview of each one of those, for driver knowledge and skill, the number one topic that came out with that was how to avoid distracted driving. For training, it was really understanding what were the unique needs of my drivers, of my operation, and of my internal associates. For FMCSA compliance, it was really staying up to date with the regulation changes. And then overall safety, no surprise here. I guess it's really just making sure that the leadership team is engaged and demonstrating that safety is important. For technology, it was drivers accepting the technology that is installed in the vehicles. Vehicle maintenance is knowing exactly when a repair or breakdown or even an accident may occur. And then the number one for maintaining company expenses remains and has been at a really high level, finding and retaining good, high quality drivers.
A couple of open-ended comments I can share on that too from the survey, especially around the last one. Things like finding and retaining good drivers, finding qualified drivers with enough experience, and then just another that was recruiting employees in all departments. So I know that's definitely a challenge a lot of organizations are facing.
One of the things fleet managers said in JJ Keller's survey that was positive was that the majority of companies continue to strive to be safer. However, there was an increase from 2021 to 2022 of managers who felt that fleet leadership is more focused on the company's bottom line rather than safety and other parts of the company.
With that driver or with the leadership buy-in, rather, it was kind of broken down into two buckets. But the first bucket is where you would hope it would be, and that was that my company continuously strives to improve driver and employee safely. The respondents answered that mostly at 38% and completely at 40%. So the two of those were at 78%. The other one was like, well, what is the bottom line? How is this going to affect profitability? Is that where their focus is? And that certainly did increase this year. It was 15% in 2021, and then doubled to 30% this year. As things are tightening up, and we all went through the supply chain challenges last year, and they continue this year. Certainly, rates have stayed high, and it's been a challenge. Let's be honest. In the last several years, trucking, at least for hire trucking, was relatively easy from a bottom line perspective. Rates were really high, and there was much more demand than there was capacity. And so it wasn't so much of if I can find a truck and a driver, it's or what truck and driver can I find, but even if I can find a truck and a driver. So I think that the focus did change this year, because it's like, well, as things constrict, how can we stay profitable? As most of folks understand that trucking is a very low margin proposition.
In dealing with driver safety, particularly with driver knowledge and skill, the biggest area of concern for survey respondents was how to avoid distracted driving. Another top safety concern was drivers' understanding of how regulations apply to them.
Some of the points related to safety are a little bit reflective of what we've talked about already. So again, that leadership showing that they consistently put safety as the most important thing. I also saw a really interesting theme of root cause, and really wanting to know if an incident does occur, let's understand the details. Let's understand what happened, maybe where it happened, and try to learn from it so that it can be prevented. So that goes back to some of that bottom line discussion that Rick was mentioning as well.
Way at the top, of that gap is how to avoid distracted driving. I think more and more carriers using cameras, both forward-facing and driver-facing, has really elevated this concern for driver managers and for safety managers. Everybody understood that distracted driving was dangerous driving. But now they're getting that video footage, and they're seeing drivers being distracted, maybe only for a couple of seconds, maybe 5 seconds, maybe 10 seconds. And they're seeing that direct result of what is happening in front of the cab of the vehicle, and just how quickly a distraction can turn into a significant safety event.
Another driver-related concern for fleet managers has been the adoption of technology. And Rick says, as many fleets already know, driver-facing cameras are a big pain point. But before we hear more from Wendy and Rick, here's a word from 1044 sponsor, Chevron Lubricants.
Protecting your diesel engine and its after-treatment system has traditionally been a double-edged sword. The same engine oil that is so essential to protecting your engine's internal parts is also responsible for 90% of the ash that is clogging up your DPF and upping your fuel and maintenance costs. Outdated industry thinking still sees a trade-off between engine and emission system protection, and Chevron was tired of it. So they spent a decade of R&D developing a no-compromise formulation. Chevron Lubricants developed a new ultra-low ash diesel engine oil that is specifically designed to combat DPF ash clogging. Delo 600 ADF with OmniMax technology cuts sulfate ash by a whopping 60%, which reduces the rate of DPF clogging and extends DPF service life by 2.5 times. And just think what you can do with all the MPGs you're going to add from cutting your number of regens. But Delo 600 ADF isn't just about aftertreatment. It provides complete protection, extending drain intervals by preventing oil breakdown. Before, you had to choose between protecting your engine or your aftertreatment system, and now you don't. 600 ADF from Delo with OmniMax technology, it's time to kick some ash.
It's huge. And this is nothing new. When ELDs came about, the number one concern of carriers was, are my drivers going to accept this? Because what driver managers and safety managers were hearing was, look, if you install that technology in my vehicle, I am out of here. And that's what we're seeing with new technology as well. I think drivers really do have that perception and that concern, really, that Big Brother is watching. And that camera is going to be on me all the time, and they're going to micromanage how I spend my day. Well, look, a driver manager's job and a safety manager's job is already pretty full. They don't have the time to be watching the tapes of all the cameras in all of the vehicles, every day. And so most carriers do use some sort of an alert system in their vehicles. So they're only having to look at when something was captured, whether it was a distraction, whether it was a hard braking, whether it was an irregular lane change. Well, let's take a look at that and see what happened. But the positive benefit of those cameras, and what really helps drivers to accept that, is the exoneration factor. So let's say a carrier gets a complaint call about a driver that maybe was tailgating them or cut them off in the roadway, and you go ahead and pull the tapes, and actually the opposite shows. The four-wheeler cut in where there was not enough distance to safely do so, and the driver immediately backed off and created a new gap for that safety. And so as those occur, and as drivers see those occurring, drivers that have the camera very quickly accept the technology. But more to the root of your question, Matt, drivers accepting, is a huge concern. It's 51% of the respondents do have a concern about drivers accepting that technology.
Staying compliant with FMCSA regulations is another huge concern for fleets, and the biggest year-to-year jump J.J. Keller saw throughout the survey was the number of managers who feel having accurate and well-organized driver qualification files is important.
The most important when it came to FMCSA compliance, and I guess this one was a bit of a surprise for me, was nearly half of the respondents, at 45%, said, hey, staying up and staying current with the changes in the regulations is a huge concern for me. I guess on one hand, that's good, because in order to be compliant, you need to know what the regulations or the rules state. That may have been driven by the fact that we completed the survey in February, and what was going on in February, it was the effective and compliant state of the entry-level driver training program. And that was forefront on many driver managers and many safety managers' minds of, we have to do what if we're going to be helping drivers to get their Class A CDL or their Class B CDL or their hazmat endorsement or their passenger endorsement or their school bus endorsement. And so staying current really, I think, more of a point of concern and a pain point, more so this year maybe than in other years, and Wendy can certainly speak to that. But then, as you already mentioned, having those well-organized driver qualification files, 34% of respondents were concerned with those, and then knowing quickly if a driver is compliant or non-compliant, and that's really having that information pushed to me rather than having me go find it and pulling it to me.
I agree with a lot of what Rick said with regards to that question. I think there was just a large theme around wanting to be in compliance and wanting to know quickly if something was not in compliance. So being able to know that first off, and then look at a solution or a way to get that resolved. So we saw that come through loud and clear. In
2022, there was a concern of 34% of the respondents. In 2021, it was a 23% percent concern of the respondents. So, over a third more of the respondents were very concerned about this area. And I think it really goes into not only what our survey reflected, but what other similar surveys taking the pulse of the industry say, and that is about driver retention and keeping qualified drivers. Well, in order to keep a qualified driver, I need to make sure that everything is up to date in the file, and the desks are getting busier and busier, and I just don't have time to go through and audit every driver qualification file and look to make sure that it's current around the clock, because things are expiring at different rates for different drivers. And so what carriers are finding is, and it kind of goes to that technology piece of it, is that if we can have an electronic tickle file that will alert me when something needs attention, and not alert me when it's expired, but maybe alert me a month or two beforehand, that will really allow me to focus on the other things that I need to do on my desk.
That's it for this week's 1044. You can read more on ccjdigital.com, and as always, you can find the 1044 each week on CCJ's YouTube channel. And if you've got questions, comments, criticisms, or feedback, please hit us up at 1044trucking@gmail.com or give us a call at 404-491-1380. Until next week, everybody stay safe.